much. And joining us now, Virginia Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, one of hundreds of lawmakers calling for President Trump's removal. She's a former CIA case officer. And I should add parenthetically, I know from our producers on the Hill how helpful you were to protecting the reporters who were not getting protection from Capitol Police at critical moments during the lockdown. So thank you for that. These are people on the front lines as well and very precious to all of us, as is everyone on the Hill. I want to read you more from Speaker Pelosi's extraordinary news statement today. She wrote, I spoke to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, to discuss available precautions for preventing an unstable president from initiating military hostilities or assessing the launch codes and ordering a nuclear strike. The situation of this unhinged president could not be more dangerous, and we must do everything that we can to protect the American people from his unbalanced assault on our country and our democracy. What's your response to that?
Well, Andrea, I want to thank you for having me on, and I'd like to begin by expressing my condolences to the family of Officer Brian Sicknick, who was a Capitol Police officer who died as a result of his injuries that he sustained while trying to protect people within the Capitol, members of Congress, our staff, members of the media, and his death is one that we all mourn together, and I'd like to begin by expressing my condolences to the family. As it relates to Speaker Pelosi's statement this morning, we have seen what has happened when this president has taken his refusal to truly acknowledge the results of this election, his desire to stay in power, and taken it to the next level. Just on the 6th, as we were preparing for the joint session of Congress, he incited what became a riot of insurrectionists who broke into the Capitol and terrorized people inside and created havoc and resulted in the deaths of multiple people, including Officer Sicknick. And so I think that it is incredibly important that the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Speaker Pelosi have these unthinkable conversations about ensuring that in his final 12 days, the President of the United States is not able to do further damage to our democracy and the state of world affairs than he has already done.
And also asking you about, and our condolences as well to the family and the friends and colleagues of the Capitol Police officer. Isn't this the result of a failure of leadership in the security, leadership perhaps in the city, leadership from certainly the President of the United States?
I think that there's a absolute failure of leadership. Certainly, it starts at the top. It starts with the President of the United States rallying his supporters in anger and with vitriol and with conspiracy theories to go march on the Capitol, to go to the Capitol, denying the election that occurred, the results of the election within the Capitol Police and within the security apparatus. Certainly, there's a failure to prepare for what we saw. But I will say this, for those of us who were in the chamber of the United States Congress as people stormed the Capitol, the memories that are most vivid to me are the fact that we had Capitol Police officers who were barricading doors with benches. I was in that room with benches, with tables, yelling and screaming, working hard to protect everybody in that room. While I have supported and have called for an investigation with more than 100 of my colleagues into what went wrong, because clearly from these views, something absolutely went wrong, I am grateful for those who worked and fought to keep everyone in the building safe, members of the media, members of Congress, our staffs, and their colleagues within the Capitol Police. But we need a full investigation, because what occurred just this week is unthinkable. It's a absolute break in what should happen, and we need to be prepared in the event that, unfortunately, we see any future attacks like this one.
And we've learned from a member of the Democratic leadership team that impeachment could move to the House floor as soon as the middle of next week. One thinks with 12 days now to go, what is the point when there's so little time left, and certainly the Senate is not going to take this up and convict?
I think every option should be on the table. I have called on the Vice President of the United States to invoke the 25th Amendment. Clearly, this president is unfit for office. He provoked an insurrection and an attack against the United States Capitol during a joint session of Congress. We, as members of Congress and our staffs and people throughout the Capitol, were sheltering in place, were lying on the floor, were donning gas masks because of an attack on the United States Capitol that this president provoked. And I think it's important that we take a strong stand to designate and affirm that this president should not continue to be in office. It is my hope that the cabinet will do the right thing, recognizing the threat, and they are most aware of the threat that he poses, which is why you have seen former close advisors, former cabinet members, and former people within his circle speaking aggressively about the fact that he should no longer be in office. And while there are only 12 days left, 12 days is a lot of time to do immense damage. And it is also about ensuring that looking towards the future, we remember this day in the United States' history when the president of the United States provoked an attack on the United States Capitol, and across the board, we make sure that we are counted, that our opinions are made clear, that this is never acceptable. So I do hope that the cabinet will do the right thing, but if they choose not to, then I think all options will be on the table.
Well, Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, again, thank you for everything you've been doing. Thanks for being with us today. And
Andrea, if I can just say,
yes.
I wanted to say, because I was with members of the media when we were huddled in place in the chamber and as we evacuated out. And what was so notable, and given all the attacks on the media that we've witnessed, as we are hurrying past, insurrectionists proned out on the ground with Capitol Police trying to protect us, members of the media were continuing to take pictures, were continuing to take notes, so that this day in American history would be well documented. And I want to say thank you to all of the colleagues and all of the members of the media who were there that day to make sure that every American knows what happened so that we ensure it never happens again. So thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
That is very well said. And in our instance, it was Haley Talbot and Frank Thorpe and, of course, Casey Hunt and all of our people, Garrett Haake on Capitol Hill. It took an hour and a half for Maryland Governor